Hello once again, and welcome to another edition of the SaskAgToday.com Roundtable. I'm joined by 620 CKRM Regina Agri-News Director Ryan Young, as well as the Chief Agricultural Editor for SaskAgToday.com, Kevin Hursh. I'm Doug Falconer, Agriculture Director at GX94 Yorkton. And the big news this week, gentlemen, of course, was the Canada-U.S. trade deal. At the time that we're recording this right now on Friday afternoon, it's still kind of up in the air. Kevin, what are you hearing regards to the trade deal?
I think everybody is waiting for details and just wondering exactly what the concessions will be, how much tariff reduction they may be, and in agriculture, wondering what the deal will be with supply management. It seems like conflicting signals. The U.S. President saying that farmers will be happy there. Here they're saying supply management will be protected. I think there will be something to do with the tariff rate quota. And it wasn't necessarily that there wasn't access to some U.S. product coming in, but the way tariff rate quotas were allocated was seemingly unfair to the U.S. in their view. So I think there's some things they can clean up about that, and maybe everybody will come out of that reasonably happy. But as we're speaking, there's no finality to the deal. Maybe it'll be extended again. Maybe they will actually sign on the dotted line, and we'll see details that we're actually able to better analyze.
Of course, one of the industries impacted by these possible tariffs is honey. And Ryan, that's something you followed up on.
Yeah, I followed up with one producer in the Balgonie area. Luke Moore is his name. He was talking about how the trade talks and the tariff threats by extension over the last 12 to 18 months have impacted honey prices. He's seen the price of honey fluctuate between $1.95 and $2.14, $2.15 per pound, when he believes that around this time of the year the price should be around $2.40 per pound. So a little bit of an effect there on the price, as well as the cost of production. Some of the stuff and equipment that he uses is from the United States and gets it imported from the US. So there is a price impact regarding the costs there, as well as labor. Sometimes it's a little bit tough to get some labor, or even importing some queen bees. That is also a thing as well for pollination purposes. So a wide variety of ways that he is impacted, but he is part of a cooperative called the Bee Made Honey Cooperative. Now, it is a membership group that includes producers in Manitoba and Alberta as well, so they're able to kind of protect some of the producers of some of the costs in terms of distribution and production in that regard, or manufacturing in that regard, so some of the costs are absorbed that way. Simon Lalonde is another producer that we've heard from this week. And he kind of noted that honey was listed under auto parts as part of the extensive list of 50% tariffs that the U.S. was threatening to impose on Canada. And he found it kind of weird that it was listed under autos and not under dairy products or milk or anything like that. So it just kind of left more questions than answers. But he's also heard of producers having similar challenges as Luke. So that's kind of the skinny when it comes to honey producers around Western Canada.
Kevin, what do you think of honey producers being in the crosshairs of tariffs for the first time?
I think it's just a strange mixture of goods that are the target of these proposed or threatened 50% tariffs, and really interesting that a small segment like honey would, for some reason, be on that list. Hopefully this will all be a moot point soon, and those 50% tariffs will not come into play, but will still be, even after this all settles, the dust settles right now on what they're negotiating, there's still the larger issue of the whole Canada, US, Mexico trade agreement to be renegotiated. This doesn't stop trade talks, even if they come to an agreement and everything's signed this time. That's just a precursor to what will have to come out of CUSMA later on.
Also this week, we got the weekly Manitoba and Saskatchewan crop reports. In Manitoba, there was some rain reported during the course of the week, and for the most part, a lot of producers were happy about it because of the late seeding this year. That happened, of course, on the Saskatchewan side as well, where the crop report suggested some producers were happy about the rain because of the late seeding this year. 4% complete now in Saskatchewan. Kevin, does that sound about right?
There's been more progress here in southwest Saskatchewan, but still it's mainly confined to pulse crops, lentils and peas that have come off. I see very little progress on other things. I've moved from maple peas to oriental mustard. It's ready and is coming off. So it has a slow start. The week that the crop report reported on, certainly there was damp weather. Even if the moisture levels were not high, it was too much for harvest to proceed. And really a mixed bag. Some producers, even though it's dry in their area, wish now that for the next while the tap would turn off so that harvest can proceed, although rain will desperately be needed after that. There are still some late-seeded crops in other areas of the province where rain can still be a benefit, but that's starting to dwindle. The view going forward for more and more producers will be, let's look forward to some good harvest weather and get the crop in the bin before we have more moisture.
Ryan, you live in the Regina area there. Have you seen any harvest activity yet?
Very little so far, Doug. I saw a couple of combines the other day south of where I live, getting underway with harvest, and the rest of the fields, from what I've noticed, they're getting closer to maturity as they were compared to a week prior. So getting ever so closer here, maybe another week or so, and we could see a lot more combines in the Regina area start in earnest.
Yeah, here in the Yorkton area too, I haven't seen any combines per se. A little bit of field activity. I'm sure there's some desiccation going on and that sort of thing, but I'm sure we're good a week to 10 days away from harvest in this area as well. Another story we had this week was with Brenna Grant from Canfax. And Kevin, you talked to her about beef prices in light of everything that's going on south of the border when it comes to their cattle herd.
Yeah, there lots of news about packing plant consolidation in the U.S. and the latest announcement of a closure by Tyson Foods was it's closing. It's not a 60-day notice that it's closing or whatever. So there's been a tremendous amount of consolidation in the U.S. packing industry. They just really short of beef animals to process there. And that caused some disruption in the market and some people questioning how markets were going to sort themselves out. It's generally believed that it's really a change in leverage, that now that the packing plant capacity has been reduced, the packing plants can reduce their bids to feedlots for finished animals. Previously, packing plants have been losing sometimes hundreds of dollars per animal. So that's going to be passed on to the feedlots. The packing plants won't be quite so hungry for animals with the reduced capacity. And then the question to Brenna Grant, the head of research for Canfax, was what's that going to do to calf prices, especially coming up with the fall calf run in a month or 6 weeks time when that will start in earnest. And she says all indications are that calf prices in Canada are still going to be very high. In fact, the suggestion is 20% higher than last year, and last year was record high. So despite the disruption in the U.S. packing industry, projections are that the cow-calf sector in Canada is going to continue to do very well, and we hope that indeed comes to pass.
Also, late breaking on Friday morning was the fact that Canada and Manitoba have announced that a feasibility study has been completed, and it suggests that the Port of Churchill could be used year-round. They're saying that they won't need heavy-duty icebreakers that would have cost in the billions of dollars, but they can just use regular icebreakers that will cost in the millions of dollars nonetheless. But there's still hope that they can open up the Port of Churchill year-round to start moving goods out of that port. What's your reaction to that news, Kevin?
Well, I've always been a bit of a skeptic when it comes to the potential for grain exports out of Churchill, but this is very interesting news if they can get that port actually functioning year-round, that could be a game changer. The way it is now, the shipping season is so short that typically you're moving old crop rather than any new crop through there. By the time new crop is available and gets to Churchill, the crop that's going to be harvested in east central and northeast Saskatchewan and northern Manitoba, it's just too late to get there for the shipping season. So certainly if they can feasibly keep that port economically open all year round, it certainly sounds like a game changer, but I remain a bit of a skeptic. The feasibility study is one thing, actuality is another. So I remain a bit of a skeptic, but it is hopeful news.
Yeah, I know you've talked in the past, Kevin, about the shipping, the grain shipping capacity there. It's just not a huge terminal.
Well, and it just has never been busy. You know, in the good years, it might do 400 or 500,000 tons. One single inland terminal on the prairies does 400 or 500,000 tons of throughput a year. So until you get up until 1 million or 2 million tons, you're not making a big impact. And it's been years and years and years since Churchill even moved 500,000 tons.
All right. And finally, on today's show, we wanted to talk a little bit about some farmers in that Rosetown Biggar area, Ryan, and you spoke to one. They've been using some, I guess, hay bales for some beer advertising.
Yeah, that's correct. The term that the folks at Bush use is bale boards, kind of a little bit of a pun there. They wanted to do something different rather than the traditional advertising means of going through an agency and a billboard. Um, as part of trying to reach out to their demographic and part of product that they wanted to promote and release, it's a farmer's pack of beer, kind of as a way to say thank you to the farmers that produce the ingredients that make that product. They put up some billboards along Highway 4 in between Rosetown and Biggar. And I spoke to Stuart Lawrence, one of the participants of this ad campaign that he had along his farm there close to the highway. And he said that, he was basically the talk of the town pretty much. Everybody was, excited, enthusiastic about all the attention that was being brought towards that area. So it was really cool to see. And if you ever seen any pictures of these billboards, it really almost looks like the real thing, where you think that they produced, an oversized beer can of Bush, but really it's just a printed design that's hammered over top of the bales. Took them about 2 to 3 weeks to kind of figure that out, but from all accounts, it seems like the campaign was worthwhile. It got a lot of attention on social media, a lot of attention around the area, and it's even picked up internationally too. Several countries have gotten in on that action. So it seems by all accounts, everybody was pretty happy with how it turned out, and it was a pretty good story as well. An opportunity for Stuart to just kind of talk about how it all connects together with the food value chain from the producer to the brewer to the consumer. So another opportunity there for the ag industry to kind of shine.
And Kevin, obviously another source of revenue for the farmer as well, maybe how little as it may be.
Yes, and I think Stuart was a little bit coy with Ryan on exactly how much he'd been compensated, and the other farmer at Biggar that did the same thing. I know Stuart very well. He served on the Canary Seed board when I was with Canary Seed before I moved over to be on the SAS Pulse board. An interesting fellow. I haven't been up and down Highway 4 in a while, but I'm heading out there tomorrow to pick up some harvest help, meeting me in Rosetown. So I'll be keeping my eye out to see these bale boards, and I haven't, even though that's a normal path back and forth Saskatoon to the farm, I haven't been down that road for quite some time, but looking forward to keeping an eye out for them on Saturday.
Yeah, and just to kind of jump in there, when I asked Stuart how much he was paid, because the Bush people said that it was the standard market rate, he said, well, it was fair, but it was more than a steak dinner with the wife, but it was well short of a new truck. But that's kind of how he described it.
That's a pretty big range at the price of a new truck.
It was, yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, that'll do it for this week's edition of the SaskAgToday.com Roundtable. On behalf of the Chief Agricultural Editor of Sask Ag Today, Kevin Hursh, and 620 CKRM Regina Agri-News Director Ryan Young. I'm GX94 Yorkton Agriculture Director Doug Falconer, saying so long until next time.